Hello, 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 everyone. This is Reverend Judy Weaver, and I'm so excited to be coming to you today as part of Ascending Consciousness. I am being joined very especially by my co host, Diane Rivera, and we have a very special guest today, Brandon Russ. Now, he is a wonderful medium from New York, and we are so excited that we've talked him into coming to Florida to do a couple of fabulous events coming up at the end of January. So, Mr. Brandon, I'm just going to jump right into you and let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell you how fabulous we are here in Florida.
Thank you. Well, thank you. That's a pretty good introduction. I mean, I thought I was going to come on and just listen to you talk, but all right, I've always got something to say. I always have things to do, and whatever. I can't wait to be there. And on this swing through, I'm going to be at your place, which is fantastic. I'm doing the message circle on the Friday. We're going to have the dates up here in a second. It's right at the end of January, Friday, and then I have a workshop on Saturday, and I have some space for some individual readings too. And then we're going to do a road trip over to Casadega, where I'm going to do a presentation on the joy of spirit. So it's kind of a, when people think that like I take these they call them vacations just because you're in the Northeast, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to Florida. Everybody's like, oh, lucky you. Are you going to get golf in? Are you going to whatever? No, I get to work as soon as I step off the plane, and then I finish up, and then I get back on the plane, and then I come home, and then I do it all over again. But it's but I really enjoy it down there. I spent a lot of time in Florida last year, so a lot of people got to know me, especially in the Northeast there, kind of Daytona. Actually, what coast is that one called?
It's on the East Coast, and I actually met Brandon a couple of years ago through Spirit Fest with different festivals all over the state. And we actually had a wonderful opportunity. Diane and we went up to New York to your facility, and we were able to do some work with you and rock your world too.
Well, and it was only fitting that you came up during the hottest time of the year up here. And then we're like, wow, it's really hot. And you two were looking at each other going, this isn't hot. Like,
this is not hot.
This is like 83 degrees. And we're like, ugh. And then you're like, 83? My tomatoes are 83 degrees. Like, that's not even, whatever.
That's the temperature I keep my house on.
Is it really?
No, actually like 80.
It keeps our home toasty. Definitely toasty, yes.
Well, do you guys play with your 11s? I always call it playing with your 11s, where it's like you either keep it at 74 or 83 or 65, where it's like you're always making all the numbers like intentionally an 11 when you add them up.
Yeah.
I do that stuff all the time.
That's too cold. That's too cold. That's too hot.
Brandon, know your target audience. This is about hot flashes and being comfortable. Okay, that's how we're gonna roll with this. Anyway, it's all good.
Anyway, I'm just going to quickly go ahead and mention what the actual events are that we are hosting. So Friday, January 26th is Gallery Messages and More, and it is going to be hosted at the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Ormond Beach, and that is going to start at 7:00 p.m., and that is going to be filled with all kinds of personal messages, and both Diane and I are going to be able to be there, and we're going to do some introduction. We're going to just kind of chat a little bit about spirit before we bring Brandon out. And then on Saturday morning, he's going to be hosting the practical intuition workshop, which is, I'm excited about that too, because that's really helping folks to get into their pieces and parts and what to do.
And I have to tell you, in all of the work, keep going with your introduction.
Okay, all right.
I have a tendency of making you go off track all the time.
Okay, well, anyway, and that starts at 11:00 in the morning. And the private reading availability, that's going to be on Saturday afternoon. So make sure, we only have a very limited number of those that are going to be available. And Brandon is a blast. As you can tell, he is filled with humor and delight and talent too. He's got a little bit of that around. So
humor, delight, spirit, cheese. I'm filled with a lot. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and I'm excited about all three of these things because when you've been doing this for a while, you start to think to yourself, like, what are you good at? Like, what do you enjoy doing? What do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And I love doing circles because of the sheer energy of it. And a lot of people get you probably, if you've gotten this far in the show, you're familiar with what mediums do and how they work, even if you're new at it. Um, Most mediums tend to, they come out and they'll do a handful of readings. Judy, when we work together, um, this is a fun thing where when you're doing, for me, the style of circle I like to do, I use a technique called the stream of consciousness, where you just really kind of lock in and you just give your impressions right around the room. So everybody in attendance will get something. Also, it's just fun. It's almost like if you've ever, it's a cross between a spiritual event and a comedian doing crowd work. That's the way I describe it now. So it's kind of like you're the subject, but we're able to kind of have the conversation and funny stuff will come out. There's always one or two people that end up being the callback of the night, like whatever we found the most humorous. I had somebody the other day who it was kind of funny, but they had this anomaly about how him and his father lost their oar out in the middle of the lake, so they were really up the creek without a paddle. So the rest of the night I just made jokes about, well, it's not like you're up the creek without a paddle or anything. So it was kind of like, it's that sort of kind of fun that we have. And then the practical intuition actually mirrors what I do on a weekly basis with my ongoing group. I call it the weekly bee, and it's a different subject every day. When we get together on that weekend, though, what we'll be doing is we're going to talk about the tools and the techniques that you can integrate your intuition every day, like saying, hey, I'm going to make everything an 11, or I'm going to pay attention to the signs, how I'm going to journal that, and really kind of figure out your strength. It's a fun activity. We do a couple of workshop style activities in that, and it's fun. And of course the readings, I mean, if I had a regret from my kind of first tour in Florida, and I hit the 4 corners, I think you guys have 7 corners, but I hit 5 of them. And I didn't do more individual readings. I just didn't have time because I was overstocked, but I purposely left some time this time down. And then I'm really excited for my first appearance at Casadega. Now, I've always had a lot of respect for that group and how they go about things. I'm not too far from Lilydale, so I'm very familiar with the sister family up here, and I've done some work out there, but this is my first time in Casadega. So I'm really excited. And the Joy of Spirit is a really good, I call them catalyst conversations, because if you've been doing this for a while, you need a spark every now and again to be like, oh, that's what I was supposed to remember, or that's something new I can add in. If you're brand new at it, you're like, oh, that's a goal. So it's designed to really be an interactive conversation about where we're going with this, because we have to start to learn how to collaborate in consciousness. Conscious collaboration is a very new thing for us, even though we're a very social creature. We're not truth seekers by nature. We want to be accepted, which is why we don't say things sometimes. It's like, oh, bless your heart. I found that when I was down south. Right. So it's kind of like,
they definitely don't want to change. Nobody wants to change. They all want something different, but nobody wants to go through any changes.
That's a great way to say it, Judy, because you're right. People want change. So these conversations, like the Joy of Spirit, is a catalyst for that migration of our personal evolution, of our collective evolution. We talk about like the overarching consciousness and moving into the age of Aquarius, which, by the way, it's all astrological, which is why I do so much astrology. But it's the finer points that we really have to pay attention to. And, how do you get there? How do you interact? How do you respond to people? How do you work with conflict? Are you creating conflict because you're stuck in the mud, or are you going, do you create conflict because you're so wanting to make change? There's goals along the way that we can take a look at, and changes that we can make, and they're simple. It's all low hanging fruit to me. It really is. It's just a matter of being aware of it. And then, of course, once you're aware of it, you can't be unaware of it. You can't see it and then unsee it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I am looking forward to this event. I'm telling you, when I got to meet you up in your place upstate in Clifton Park, which I'm in New York, by the way, now as we're talking. I am in New
Oh,
York.
are you really? Yeah, I was wondering about that. I'm like, we're practically neighbors, and then we don't see each other. I reach out to you. You're like, oh, I'm in Florida. I'm like, Diane.
Well, I am in New York now.
Diane,
I am in New York now.
Diane, I have a personal question. Do you have like several different names? Like, do I have to like try and figure that out? Like, do you have a couple of passports depending upon what Tuesday it is?
Do I? Yes.
Diane, I'm having fun with you, for crying out loud. If you don't have some,
I did. Well, yeah. Who am I going to be today? What do I want to be today?
now you get it. Now you get it. But you're up here in New York.
I have been speaking up about your event coming up, and I'm telling everyone that it's an experience that's so joyful, because I've watched you do readings in the circle, which we all love the circles, and it's like you're having a party. You're having conversation with spirit, but you're also in it, and you're joking with them. And it's like you're having inside jokes that all of the room doesn't really hear that part. But when you come out with it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's you know what I crossed the Rubicon with that when I realized I wasn't crazy. In our own like spiritual evolution, we have to like listen. Every medium looks like an absolute nutcase until they get validation. Like if I sit here and I tell you all about this beautiful woman that's connected in spirit, and she has an apron on and she's cooking cookies and she's carrying on and she's putting bows in people's hairs and that sort of thing. I sound like I'm just a synthetic wacko or creative genius or whatever it is. I'm not, people just want to throw bus tokens at me, right? But if you make the connection and you're like, that's exactly how my grandmother acted, all of a sudden it becomes validation. So It moves for years. I didn't know how to communicate those things that made it simple enough that people could understand. And then in turn, it allowed me to be able to have confidence. And then from that confidence comes comedy. From that confidence comes better messages, more direct messages, evidential conversations. And I think that's, I appreciate that, because that's years of hard work. What you just said as a compliment, I really appreciate it, because as much as it's my knack or my ability or my shtick or whatever, wherever you are in the optimism to pessimism range in this work, it's hard work. Like it just didn't happen overnight. This happened because I did readings in the back of an American Legion club, for $20. It's or $10. It happens because I went to this event, or I helped this family, or I helped this situation, or I was on this missing persons case, or I was on it's the stem of all of these experiences coming together. And you get into heavy situations, and guess what? When you're in a circle, that's not a heavy situation. There might be some heavy energy, but that's not a heavy situation, right? So you can laugh about it. You can find the humor in it. So it's, that's the culmination of a lot of experience and a lot of going back and working the clay and figuring out how it fits my personality, how it fits my messaging, and what I think the right experience is when people come to see me.
Absolutely. And that's a practice too, a continuation of the practice, and that commitment of really keeping yourself to be that open channel, and mindfulness of mind, body, spirit actions on a regular basis as well. But I am so excited and delighted that you are coming to Florida.
I'm really excited about it too. And I think it's, for me, it's also, I love the opportunity, and these are the things that I'm doing now. Like I'm going and I'm working with people in their space. Last year I was very much like, big events and headlining and that sort of thing, which was great. But I really realized that like the work was, what you guys are doing in your space in Ormond Beach. Like, let's get, you want to have guests like this in, I want to be able to encourage those things. And when you become not only confident in who you are, but you also start to realize that there's a bigger purpose here going on, and how do you fit into that? I would rather go to, I mean, headlining shows and that sort of thing are really cool. You get your face on the marquee, all that stuff. Great. I would rather have the impact when I come to a space like yours and meet 15, 20 people that really needed to hear what I had to say or really needed that connection or that message. I'll get something out of that too. Because when I'm seeing 200 people, it's kind of like, okay, that's a little, wow, that was a lot. When's my flight? And then the other side of it is this is where you foster that connective tissue, and that Merkaba grows, that energetic Merkaba grows into more people that will support, and more people that will help each other grow. And that's the energetic shift right now. We keep talking about a shift and a change. This year I'm working on aligning that shift and change with the activities that I'm doing, so that then I can connect the dots.
Cool.
Exactly. I love that, and as you're saying that, so I feel that energy. And the thing is that having the circles, you know, even in the smaller groups or the galleries, and it's making that connection through that, allowing them to actually feel the connection, to feel that divine love, to really get the message, to feel that energy, and to allow most of the people that do come to our circles or galleries, even if smaller galleries, are more light workers wanting to feel that energy, learning to grow, to allow themselves to receive message, but also to grow spiritually and energetically. And I feel that people receive that during those circles because we're able to work with them a little bit more. But when we have that big event where we have the 200 to 500 people, it's a harder. It's
the messaging.
They don't all catch it because there's too much energy going on.
I love those because I think so. I've been a musician forever, so my equivocal to like having a room full of people like that are always fantastic, where I'm like, oh, this is a piece of cake. Oh, I'm playing, I played shows in front of 10,000 people, but there's a lot of diminished returns because you need the amplifier to get it out there. So when I feel like I need an amplifier to be like, okay, anybody that's lost their firefighter husband, this is your reading. And because it's a lot of diminished returns, you've got to be able to, connect with as many as you can. On the other side of that, in this kind of smaller setting group, it's so beneficial. And it sounds like do the dollars and cents work to the whatever. Listen, when you really start doing this stuff, everything just seems to take care of itself. It really does, because you're no longer worried about how you fulfill the other things. Not that you don't have responsibility. It's how it feeds your soul. And that's kind of the shift that we've been paying attention to. I'm very soul driven. I'm very, soul led, as one of my friends always talks about. Like, are you soul led with this decision? And for me, it's totally a soul led moment. And that's where the magic is for me now. The magic isn't in front of a room full of, 5,000. It's in front of 5 really impactful people. So whether 10 people or 100 people see this video, I firmly believe the right people see this stuff. I firmly believe the right people come to you for readings. And I think that's the magic. I think that's the shift we have to start thinking about.
Absolutely, 100%. And the other thing is, I really love the combination of the 3 of our energies. Diane and I have been working together for the last several years, hosting a number of different things. We do a message circle on a monthly basis at the church. We also are now starting a healing service on a monthly basis. And we travel. And this summer, we'll be back up your way when it's really hot again. Just letting you know, we're coming up again in July.
Can you not do it on the opening weekend of the track? Can we just work on that?
I'm not doing that.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. It's kind of like, where is everyone? It's kind of where they are, but no, I have to tell you, I think it's also, and it's interesting though, because I want to share a story about you guys coming up here. So one of the things that I realized and I really recognized was like, we're actually, your visit was everything, because it made me start to think about where I wanted to go. Like, you guys were willing to come up here and see our space and, do the work here. And in turn, I was like, maybe I need some different space. Maybe I need some whatever. Now, I'm not interested in moving. Like, I'm really set up as a studio here. But, that made me start to build relationships with some other spaces, some retreat center spaces. And I'm actually going to be, speaking to one at the base of the Adirondacks to do that. Now I've been out to Shasta and Sedona and planning other retreats. But to me, I'm kind of like, this is such a hungry thing where if you could go to a retreat, with a 2-hour drive, let's say, as opposed to a, 3-hour flight and a rental, it makes it more affordable and more want to do it. So, my target is kind of turned back towards local as well. Sometimes that's why when I'm coming to Ormond Beach, I'm like, hey, I know people down there. I've met them. I've had shows at Daytona. I've done, doing the work at Casadega now. So it's, it all kind of works together. Totally works together.
Absolutely does. Well, I want to go ahead and kind of bring us in. I hate to end our time chatting, but I do feel like, people are busy in their lives and we want to make sure that we provide them with the most information so that they can get your ticket. So please go ahead. Yes, he is an author.
I'm going to have my book there to sign. I'll have my book there to sign. That's all I wanted to plug. Fair enough?
Okay. Good. Yes. Book sales will be there.
I want you to know, Brandon, quickly that, let me tell you this quickly. I hijacked your book from Judy. Haven't returned it yet.
On behalf of the sales department, I want to thank you. And then I'm only kidding. I can't, but can I tell you something though? When you write a good book, when you write a book that like resonates with people, they'll come back to you, right? And I can't tell you how many times it's like, oh, I borrowed this from my friend. And my editor, producer mind is like, oh my gosh, that's one less sale. And then I laugh about it. And then they booked, and it's because I found out about it because they booked a reading. So for me, I can't tell you how many people will be like, I ended up with this book in my hand. I know you're trying to sign off, but this is a great story. I read this woman and she's, and after talking to her, I'm like, oh, listen, this has been a great conversation. Let me send you my book. And she goes, oh my God. She goes, and when I'm done with it, I'll put it in the library. And I'm like, oh, is that something you should do? And then she goes, no, I'm a volunteer book club person. And the next thing I know, I'm like, listen, I'm going to donate 3 books. I want you guys, you can do with it what you will. I had every single person in that book club call me, reach out to me, take a class, have a reading, sit in a circle, whatever. And the part that I'm laughing about is that they had never really been introduced to a medium until that book, but it resonated. And that's the stuff I'm talking about, guys. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
You gotta love it, and you have to love that.
Yeah. So, Judy, thank you for having me. I love seeing you guys.
You're welcome. And again, there is such joy and there's peace and there's healing that takes place when you spend the time with a medium and getting to know and to hear that guidance and get that affirmation of what's happening with you and within your lives. And again, the sensitives are going through such an awakening process. So really finding yourself, that community and that presence of people to count on, along with having a fabulous time, is always a wonderful thing. So we do hope that you will join us on January 26th, Gallery Messages and More, 7 p.m. On the 27th, Practical Intuition Workshop and private reading availability. I will go ahead and link the information to this video, but you can come and find us at ascending-consciousness.square-site. So thank you all so very, very much. And we are so filled with gratitude and grace and so looking forward to seeing you soon, my friend.
All right. Looking forward to it. Can't wait.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.